Welcome to the stream. Today we got a super exciting live stream. Today we're going to be going live with journalist Cosmin Dzsurdzsa. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be awesome. We're kind of going to get a little bit of a backstory on his career, why he started journalism. And yeah, it should be awesome. Please be sure to share this out. We'll wait for some more people to hop in here, and then we'll kind of get started. We'll bring them up, and we'll get to talking. But yeah, we'll wait for some more people to hop in here. I just gotta go make sure the thumbnail's good. You guys know all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is my first interview that I've done in like a long time. Like honestly, I haven't interviewed somebody in I can't even remember the last interview I did. My last interview, it might have been with Clyde Do Something. I think that might have been my last interview. So I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to it. Let's see, pull up chat here. But yeah, if you're just tuning in after it's been streamed, maybe skip ahead about a minute or so, because we're just gonna wait for some people to hop in here. And yeah, I'll bring Cosmin on in about a minute. Actually, you know what? Why wait? We got my dad in here already. Hey, Dad, the first one. How's it going, Dad? Why wait? We're just gonna go ahead and bring Cosmin in right now. Cosmin, how is it going?
Good. How is Victoria?
Pretty awesome. No complaints over here. So I just want to ask, what age were you when you first got into journalism, and what was it that kind of inspired you to get into journalism in the first place?
So I have a pretty funny story because I never intentionally got into journalism. Journalism was just kind of like a thing I had as a side interest throughout high school and university. But
Yeah.
I think my first experience in journalism was writing articles to my local paper when I was probably about your age, I think 10th or 11th grade.
Yeah.
And then I went to university. And while I was at university, I basically saw this underground student paper. I went to the University of Waterloo in Ontario, and they used to have a publication called the Chevron that was actually the main student newspaper at that school. But what happened is that a school union was formed, and they created their own newspaper called Imprint, and this outlet went underground, and it was revived a couple times. And it just so happened that in my first year of university there, it got revived again by a bunch of people. Funny enough, they were kind of like Marxist far left types, but I started writing for them because I had an interest in citizen journalism, open media, transparent media, and I got in touch with their editor and started talking with them, and they gave me an editing position, and I went on from there. And then I had some volunteer stints. I actually worked for like a Russian English language news outlet when I was in about third or second year of university while I was studying Russian there as well. And then from there, I basically had to get a job because I was about to graduate. We found out, me and my wife, that we were about to have our first child, and circumstance kind of pushed me in the direction of pursuing this career. But originally, I was going to continue in academia and continue studying English literature, which is what I got my degree in.
Awesome. Sweet. And then I saw you were doing work for the Post Millennial, correct? Yeah.
So my first job was real job, like real career job, was at the Post Millennial. When they just got started, actually, I was one of the early hires, and then I ended up becoming a senior editor there for I think about. I worked officially for about a year, but I worked with them for about almost a good 2 years,
Yeah.
and then ever since then, I've been with True North where I am now.
Yeah, so I've seen True North. They're a very large, kind of independent, free thinking outlet. So that's pretty cool that you're doing work with them. I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of like a deep question. Do you believe that free speech exists in Canada in this day and age? Because you see a lot of people with opposing um, opinions to the narrative being censored. So what do you think about free speech in this day and age in Canada?
Right, so it's a very difficult question. I mean, it
Yes.
depends where you look, right? When we look at university campuses, I don't think free speech is in a great state over there. When we look at
No.
these professional organizations, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm talking about, College of Physicians, the College of Medicine and whatnot. I don't think free speech is really valued there.
Yeah.
So whether free speech is where it should be in Canada, living up to its full potential? No, I don't think so. I think we've got a lot of problems with freedom of expression in this country. We've definitely backtracked and taken several steps back as a nation in the last couple of years. It's becoming harder to express oneself openly. A lot of people are afraid. People who are professionals in different fields, they're afraid to speak their mind because of like management bureaucracies sort of censoring anybody who crosses a certain line.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that. And have you heard what's happening with Jordan Peterson? How they're trying to like revoke his license? I don't know 100% about it, but kind of let me know your thoughts on that. That's kind of weird how they try to revoke his, what is it, psychology license?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I've been following Jordan Peterson
Mhm.
pretty much from the very early days. I went to his talks a while ago at the University of Toronto and elsewhere. And I was actually there at Wilfrid Laurier, which was right beside my university where I went, and the whole scandal happened there. So I think with what's happening to him, it's just kind of a continuation of an attack from different. I guess from different parts. Originally, it was academia. Now they're going from this like professional institution that regulates his profession, and it makes me question: does this college of psychologists, like, what are they regulating? Are they really regulating the profession, the practice of
Mhm.
psychology? The best interests of patients, or are they regulating the opinions of the people who they accredit? And it seems
Yeah.
to me in this case that they are, in fact, more concerned with the opinions Dr. Peterson is expressing and not his actual practice.
Yeah.
From my understanding, there's no issue with his relationship or his dealing with patients.
Absolutely. And it's crazy how like they just suppress people. Like for example, my YouTube channel, I've had multiple videos get demonetized just for speaking about stuff that they don't really like. I wanted to know, have you experienced any censorship so far in your career with journalism?
So, have I experienced any censorship? I've definitely experienced attempts at censorship, but I think me sitting here, me being online, is a testament to those attempts ultimately failing.
Yes.
So, my relationship with censorship actually goes way back before I was born because I was born in Romania
Mhm.
in 1995. And if you know anything about the history of that nation, communism ended in Romania in 1989. So my older siblings lived through communism in their very early life, but my parents, were subjected to communism for most of their, well, all of their childhoods and most of their young adulthood. And
Mhm.
censorship in communist Romania was the norm. Informants, people informing on their neighbors, on their loved ones, even on their parents, was actually encouraged by the state. So that really impacted me because around the time, actually, I guess when I was your age, 15 or 16, I really started to question my background and look into it. Like, I'm from this place, I don't know very much about it. And I started to go to the library, read books, and to investigate my own background. And, there's a lot of horrific stuff in that history. And when I grew up, I had to come to terms with that. And really, some people, believe it or not, will say, oh, communism is a great thing. But from my perspective, it was a terrible thing that wreaked havoc on an entire people and generations of people, their psychology.
Yeah.
So it's very, the idea of censorship is very close to my experience, and I've always fought against it. As for my career as a journalist, yes, I mentioned earlier in this interview, I did some brief editing and writing for like a Russian English language outlet, and they actually came after me. I'm sure if you Google my name, there's
Yeah.
articles about that, and they tried to get me fired, but it was unsuccessful because I've always been honest about my opinions and about who I am, and censorship simply won't work if you're willing to fight back.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a way around it. Like if they take me off of YouTube, I could go to Rumble or Facebook. Like there's definitely a lot of alternative platforms. There's always a way around it. When there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, I just think it's so crazy how like they see one thing they don't like and you're just gone. Like countless people have just been have all their work removed from social media. And this kind of leads into another question. Do you think Canada's headed in a good direction?
I think most people agree that it's not headed in a good direction. I've
Yeah.
seen polls lately saying the same, that most Canadians don't believe that this country is headed in a good direction, and I think that's very true from my own experience. I mean, we're seeing it in our daily lives in terms of the price of things. The price of gas, the price of food. People are more stressed. You can feel it in the air. People are struggling deeply, and something has to be done because as these tensions like accumulate, there's a snowball effect, and it creates uh, disorder, and it incentivizes people in positions of power to only look out for themselves and not really be concerned with the ordinary citizen. So I don't think Canada's headed in a good direction, but I'm an optimist when it comes to these things, and I think there's always something that can be done, and it must be a grassroots thing. It must really come from the little guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think media and like mainstream media has a lot to do with it. They form a lot of people's opinions. A lot of people don't do really any research or kind of like, head in the sand, like I saw one comment say, and then they turn on mainstream media and they see something like they don't really think about it. They don't really do research. They just think, hey, if it's here on TV, then it must be true. So that kind of leads into my next question. What are your thoughts on mainstream media?
I think mainstream media has become detached from the experiences of ordinary people. You turn on CBC News, you turn on CTV News, Global News, and you'll see topics and subject matters and stories which don't really deal with like immediate circumstances, like the real problems people are facing.
Mhm.
Excuse me. One of the stories recently was like this, the Girl Guides changing their name from the Brownies to something else because allegedly it was racist or whatnot, right? And we're seeing this like like becoming more common on television and in the mainstream media. Just a total detachment into these ideological debates that have nothing to do with what ordinary Canadians are going through. And I think people are sensing that because we've seen a proliferation of different new media outlets in this country. I
Yeah.
mean, since I started, I've seen the numbers triple or quadruple. New media is growing exponentially, and the mainstream media feels threatened. So we see the ripple effects of that because they're lobbying the government to introduce legislation to ban people, or to downgrade people like you, independent content creators, through bills like Bill C-11 and other pieces of legislation, simply because they don't agree with what you're saying, and it's taking attention away from their own products, making them
Yeah.
financially unsuccessful, and they're bitter about it. And instead of coming to a common ground and saying, hey, maybe we misstepped, maybe we're living in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're totally isolated from the average person. They don't do that. They lash. They attack. They go on the offensive instead of coming to terms with the reality of the situation.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel a lot of journalists nowadays are just trying to have the catchy headline just to get clicks. And a lot of journalists I feel are lacking integrity. And a lot of journalists, are just trying to do the quick thing to get a lot of attention. And this leads into my next question. What are your thoughts on the current state of journalism?
I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've had such an unorthodox career. I've never worked at a mainstream media outlet, right? And
Yeah.
thank God, because I would probably hate my life if I worked in such an environment where I was like had all these expectations to not say something and to toe this line and whatnot. That sounds suffocating to me. So I can't tell you what the state of the mainstream legacy media profession of journalism is like because I've only seen it from the outside. But what I know is that it's very cliquey. They're very hierarchy oriented, and they're only looking for people who are sort of cardboard cutouts. Like that's what I call most legacy media journalists. They're cardboard cutouts of people. They don't have any personality. They don't have they don't exhibit any individual opinion. And I think the strength of new media is that they do. They're human beings, right? Like they have their individuality, and that comes with flaws, of course, but people connect with that instead of some slick haired, sort of stiff suited person who's, just blaring opinions at you
Yeah.
that are presented as news.
Exactly. And so you mentioned that you're with True North now. True North is an independent media outlet. Can you kind of go more into depth into like what True North is and kind of what it's been like working with them?
So it's been great. We're a digital media outlet. We started, let's see, maybe I think it started about 4 to 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and we've grown steadily since. We cover national politics, but like compared to big media outlets, we're a quite smaller team, right? But
Mhm.
because we have fully adopted this digital media sphere, we're more versatile, we're more flexible. You can today, and this is like something that I think young people need to understand who are getting into journalism. Today, you don't need to have a journalist in a newsroom in every single city in the country, every single major city. You
Mhm.
can scan the entire country from your bedroom. It doesn't matter where you are. Everything is digitized, right? Like you
Yeah.
can tune into city council live streams, you can tune into school board live streams, you can check their agendas, you can request documents online. All of that is available at your fingertips, and it's just about tapping into it. So, compared to these mainstream media organizations, which are super bloated, super full of like people, useless people. Like you look at their employee directories, and it's people,
Mhm.
journalists who like pump out a story every like month, and it's like,
Yeah.
what are they doing most of the time? Like, what are they being paid for, right?
Uh-huh.
So, like our organizations like ours are more nimble.
Yeah.
And somebody asked, I see in the chat, like, why am I not on True North Vids? Well, because I'm a reporter and a researcher, so I do a lot of the writing that you see on the website and our investigative reports and exclusive reporting, which is my forte. I like to work with documents and data and whatnot, and that is why you don't see me. But I think I've appeared on one or two shows, and I do appear on live streams like this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great that we have independent news outlets because without stations like True North, Rebel News, and I'm sure there's a lot more independent stations out there, without stations like these, it would just be mainstream media would be dominating everyone. And I feel like Canada would be in a lot of a worse like a lot worse position if there wasn't outlets such as True North and Rebel News and other independent kind of outlets. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Just want to say that. I see a question here for you in the comments. Says, do you intend to create a live stream channel or something on YouTube or Rumble?
So while I flirted with the idea of doing such a thing, I'm not 100. Like I have my hands full. I have a full time job where I'm writing and reporting, and but I do have a Substack which you can check out. It's called outeredge.substack.com, and that's a sort of source of global dissonant news. I collect news that you've never heard of from around the world, from places like Germany, France, Sweden, Brazil, China,
Mhm.
and whatnot, and I present it to you in a very easily readable format with sources, 100% completely sourced. So check that out if you're interested to see what I'm working on currently. But my door is open. I'm always open to new mediums to present my work. And I think live streaming is a great thing. Tyson, you've done a great job as well
Thank
live
you.
streaming. I think I was first introduced to you because of the Freedom Convoy,
Yeah.
and I watched your live streams at the BC legislature, I think,
Mhm.
or within that vicinity. I think I watched you also when Trudeau visited the
Yeah.
BC capital, and that stuff is amazing. Live streaming is a great format, in my opinion, primarily because it doesn't require as much editing, right? Like when you're
Mhm.
doing podcasts, when you're doing full shows, you're twice or three times the amount of the time you're on screen goes into editing and preparing
Yeah.
it into a polished product. Whereas live streaming is great because it's you just go on air and get it out there, and then you're done with it. And I think it's good to think about that, like input that you're putting into that energy versus like the amount of work it takes. And it's great, man. I love seeing your stuff, and I'm happy to be here and to promote you
Yeah.
and your work in the future.
Thank you. And you mentioned your Substack. Sorry, just say that again because somebody's confused. What's your Substack?
So it's just outeredge.substack.com, and you can find it on my Twitter bio as well, which my Twitter is just at Cosmin
Yeah.
DZS.
So
Yeah.
is Twitter kind of like your main platform?
Twitter has been my main platform, and it is where I have the most reach. It's
Mhm.
the where I'm basically active all of the time. Although I do like to take breaks on the weekend, spend time with my family and
Yeah.
get plugged out of the craziness, which is Twitter and what's happening in the world. But like I said, I'm happy to branch to other platforms in the future, but it depends on my time and what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah. So if you're mainly on Twitter, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter? Do you think he's doing a good job so far, kind of restoring free speech, or do you think he could be doing more?
I think I have opinions on both sides. I think overall there have been positive changes, and especially on the front of unblocking accounts, getting people out of Twitter jail. I think what was happening before was a mess and a tragedy of censorship.
Yeah.
People were unfairly targeted by a totally shadowy, non-transparent process. I'm also very happy that he's bringing to light what was happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Um, but I do have like some problems with like the way they rolled out Twitter Blue. It didn't really make
Yeah.
sense to me. Like, why didn't they get everybody onto Twitter Blue? But now they're like, it seems like they're letting people with blue check marks who didn't pay for it, including me. Like, I never paid for a blue check mark.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't have to go on Twitter Blue. So it just makes me think like what it makes me have some questions about that rollout. But like I said, overall with I like the transparency. I like bringing people back, people who didn't deserve to be banned, and I like the fact that certain people are angry about it. People who should
Mhm.
be angry about it because they're the ones promoting this terrible, toxic
Yeah.
environment and practice of just banning people you disagree with.
Yeah, and honestly, I pretty much agree with you 100% on the whole Elon Musk thing. I also think that the whole Twitter Blue thing was weird because I know you had the check mark before they introduced that. I paid for it, but I think it's just kind of strange that, because the blue check mark is supposed to like represent somebody who's authentic, as somebody who's established. And now people with like zero followers could go and just get a blue check mark and then promote scams. So that's kind of something I made videos on this in the past. It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the one thing of Elon Musk that I don't really agree with Twitter is the whole Twitter Blue. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a mashup and a mix up. It's kind of confusing, but yeah,
Yeah, it's different because, for example, before they rolled out Twitter Blue, you would be able to like there was a verified notification tab for like verified accounts. So when you looked at the verified, you'd be able to see who retweeted you that was, I guess, quote unquote prominent. But the other thing is, like from a research perspective, it was very useful to filter like verified responses when something was happening, because then you could see, oh look, this is what journalists are saying, this is what politicians are saying, this is what um, you know public figures are saying. But now when you do that filter, it's just a whole array of different accounts. But
mhm,
I understand where it's coming from. It's the democratization of the platform, as a open forum, as the public square. And I understand that. It's just that there are like some weird things about how they rolled it out, but
yeah,
it's still under development. They're still making changes, and it's a testament to Elon Musk and his team's capability that they were able to fire all of these useless people and
yeah,
still run a functioning platform. For
yeah,
about a week or two, everyone was saying this place is going to hell, everything's getting worse, it's slower, blah blah blah. But that's not the case. We see the platform running perfectly fine. There's no there. I don't see an increase. Well, I guess there has been bot activity, but I think that was happening before, and that's another, I guess, problem I would have with it is the bot. Like, there needs to be something done to take care of the
mhm,
bots, uh, whether because they're scamming people, they're littering spam and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And I've criticized Elon in the past, but I just want to make it very clear. I think it is impressive that he's able to fire so many staff and still keep it running quite well. Like honestly, I didn't really use Twitter much before, but as soon as Elon Musk got a hold of it, I've been a lot more active over there on Twitter. So I think overall it's pretty positive. I like what he's doing, bringing back voices which were suppressed in the past. So yeah, of course he could be better. Nobody's perfect. I think he's doing pretty good personally. Um, but I'm pretty much out of questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
well, I just like to, ask you what kind of direction are you going with your platform? What's your hopes and dreams for it? I see on your wall you have, I will reach
Yeah,
100,000 subscribers by 2023, which is fantastic. It's a good goal, and I hope you achieve it. So yeah, just shoot, and if you have any questions about the job, or just uh, you know new media and like what to do, I'd be happy to offer my own experiences, because I've been doing this for about like half a decade, which isn't really a long time, but I've definitely gotten some blows and been through, ripped off some band-aids. So
yeah.
I'd be happy to part that too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I kind of just plan on, keeping up the interviews. If there's any, big protests again in Victoria, of course, I'll be down there covering it. So yeah, just covering what's going on in Victoria, boots on the ground as best as possible, but also keeping these kind of interviews alive. I want to hear kind of the story of a lot of different people and kind of just let the world hear people's stories like I'm doing right now with you. So yeah, that's kind of what I see myself going on in the future. I have a ton of fun with this YouTube thing. Like I always look forward to doing this. I know I haven't kind of posted in a while. I've been busy with life, but yeah, super exciting stuff. Just gonna continue doing what I'm doing, and I don't know if we'll reach 100,000 this year. That's kind of a high goal, but you never know. With hard work and dedication, you could get anywhere. So
So
Yeah.
is the goal like a sort of sit down conversational podcast, kind of like, the Joe Rogan, Tim Pool thing that's become very popular? Is that, are those like people you look up to, or you kind of want to emulate in some respects?
I think that's really cool. I maybe when I get a bit older, I move out, I can have my own like little studio. I could do that. But for the time being, I don't have the resources to like sit down with people, so it's just kind of gonna be through online like we're doing right now. But I think that's really cool how Joe Rogan does that with like the guest actually right in front of him in person, and I could definitely see myself doing that in the future if I get the resources for it.
Do you intend on like going to school for journalism or media, after you're done high school?
I'm really not too sure yet. I guess we're just gonna kind of see where it takes us. I play baseball, so I'm hoping to go to college for baseball. But if that doesn't work,
Yes.
I could definitely 100% explore what they have for journalism in college. Definitely be something to look into.
Yeah, like I said, my experience was I never wanted to do this as a job. It was just something I
Hmm.
pursued on the side. And when you put enough time and effort into like a side gig like that, it's honestly going to surprise you. And it's always something you could fall back on if whatever you're doing doesn't work out. And it's just crazy where life ends up taking you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to be in the position where I could inspire people to do new things, to open their mind more. Honestly, like I just want to have a good impact on the world. Like I want to make sure that I'm not spreading hate, I'm not spreading misinformation. I want to make sure that every time somebody comes to my channel, they're getting the truth and they're getting the truth, you know? Like a lot of
Yeah.
outlets are just straight up lying to their viewers and that just I just can't do that. So, yeah, I want my channel to just be a place of inspiration and a place of open-mindedness and open free thinking. That's my goal.
That's a breath of fresh air, man. Like it's a those are the people we need because
Mhm.
there's some unscrupulous people in the business, as you might eventually find out. But it's those people who are in it for the truth and to spread goodness and to brighten people's days and tell people's stories. That's what this is all about.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's not something that you get in it for the wrong reason. Like, if you get into YouTube for the money or for the fame, you're gonna give up because it takes a very long time to get those things. It takes years of hard work and dedication. I just recently got monetized less than a year ago. So that means I was doing YouTube for free for like a couple of years. So yeah, you definitely got to get into it with the right mindset, the right intention, and you have to have integrity. Like you have to want to tell the truth. You have to want to make a difference in people's lives. If you're just doing it for personal reasons, then it's never going to work out for you, in my opinion.
Well, that's great, man. I'm happy to continue watching you grow, and anytime you want me on, just give me a DM, and I'd be happy to come on
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again in the future. But yeah,
for
thank you
sure.
so much for coming on, Cosmin. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I put a link in the description for everybody watching if you'd like to go follow Cosmin on Twitter. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on here, Cosmin. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. All right, everybody. So that was Cosmin Dzsurdzsa, journalist working with True North. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna clip this interview up and just little segments of it and post it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I hope that you guys enjoyed this quick little chat with Cosmin. I know it wasn't super long. This is my first interview that I've done in a while. So yeah, we'll get to the hour-long interviews again in the future. But I think it went well. I think we got some pretty good questions in. Cosmin is a fantastic, great guy. Definitely worth checking out if you are new to hearing about him. Definitely go check out his Twitter that I put in the description. Give him a follow. Look at some of his work. I think he does some pretty amazing work. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll just read some comments here. William here says, "'Twas an interesting interview, good content." Thank you so much, William. Um, Debbie says, "Great goal, Tyson. We need more of you." Thank you, Debbie. Um, Adam Carolla's format is good too. More casual chat. I'll have to check out Adam Carolla. I've seen a couple of people comment that. Um, Debbie here says, "You've awakened many people, Tyson. Fantastic work. You are amazing. You will reach 100,000." Thank you so much for that, Debbie. I appreciate the kind words. And we got one more here. It says, "Great job, Tyson. Keep up the journalism." Thank you so much, Larry. But yeah, with that, we're gonna hop off. Take care. Please share this out like crazy. If you haven't already, be sure to like the stream, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Simply by clicking that like button, it helps out a lot, and it helps boost the stream higher and higher into the YouTube algorithm. So please be sure to like the stream if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already as well, so we could reach this goal. But yeah, take care, everybody, and I'll